Coming up next on City Corner, we've got the Women of Achievement, so stay tuned. We've got a great show ahead. I'm Sarah Bernard, and on today's edition of City Corner, we've got the Women of Achievement, which is an organization that's been around St. Louis for over 70 years, actually celebrating their 70th anniversary. We're going to talk about that in a minute, Kathie, but has been in St. Louis even longer than that. So we've got Kathie Winter, who is the president of the board of directors of Women of Achievement, joining us today in the studio. Welcome, Kathie.
Hi, Sarah.
So glad you're here. So Women of Achievement is really a St. Louis institution that there's how many women over all these years have been honored?
This is our 700th group of women. There's 700 of members that have been honored since 1955, and we've kept track of all of them. So over the years.
So 70 years of honoring women, and every year
honorees.
There's 10. So 700 women have been honored here in St. Louis, and they're honored for their volunteerism. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. And so you can be nominated from our community, and our fellow members have nominated for the organization, and then they go through a selection process, which we've kept intact since the 1955 time. And so the selection process is 2 different committees. And what happens is we take all of the nominations that come into us, we double check to be sure that they are truly volunteered and not paid for the position. And then what happens is the first selection committee will narrow it down to 25 honorees. And then we have a separate selection committee that is made up of community leaders and also past honorees. And they narrow it down to the 10 that we have today.
That we honor every year, and that's coming up in May. There's always a big event at the Ritz-Carlton. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes, but it's really, volunteerism is so important. I don't think any community could survive without strong volunteers running organizations, doing the dirty work, so to speak, and just getting people involved in all of these different aspects of our community. So with the Women of Achievement, give us a perspective on how many women are nominated every year.
It varies, actually. This past year, we had almost 100 women. So we had 78 that ended up into the first pool of the selection committee. But we've had up to 125 in the past or more. But this year, we had ended up going through 78 nominations.
So that's a lot. And when are the nominations due every year?
They're due. It's always a tough time of year because we start in the fall advertising that we're accepting nominations, and then we get through to January, and January and February is when the 2 committees then are meeting and making their selections.
So the honorees they're told they're an honoree in what, March? When we get to the final selection, yes, then we contact them. Years ago, they were given a telegram, and that was how they found out about it. Today we have our telephone, so we call them and tell them that they've won their honoree. And when you call them, are all these women aware that they were nominated at that point?
Some know that there was a nomination in place, but many of them do not know. So if the nominator knows the person fairly well, they might just submit the nomination without that person knowing.
Okay.
So sometimes it's a surprise.
Yeah. So the nominations are coming from past honorees who are familiar with the organization, but anyone can nominate somebody.
Ladue News and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch have been partners with us for forever, and they put out the print nominations. We put it on Facebook, we put it on YouTube, so it goes in a number of different places so that people in the community can see it and know that it's an opportunity time to nominate someone who's a fabulous volunteer.
So you've been president of the board of directors for the past couple of years.
Yes.
But you were an honoree yourself, Kathie.
Yes, I was.
So when
Thank
was
you.
that, and what were you nominated for?
I was nominated. I'm in the class of 2016. So, and I was nominated for my leadership. I've been on a number of boards, and it seems like every board that I've been on, I've ended up being president of. So, so I've provided a leadership and business acumen to the different organizations that I've been involved in over the years.
Are you continuing, other than this is still a volunteer role that
Yes.
you're in now, are you continuing to volunteer on different boards?
I am, yes. I'm on the St. Louis Arc Board. I'm on the St. Louis Dance Theater Board, Stray Dog Theater. I'm on, I was on Springboard to Learning, so.
Okay, good. So volunteering is obviously important to you. And why do you think the Women of Achievement organizations is important for St. Louis? This history has continued for decades.
I think because it's important that we recognize this work that these women have been doing. You know, I've always said the power of one is amazing because it moves mountains. And these individual women, with whatever their passion has been, have done phenomenal things in communities and with the lives of people in our region. And it's great that we get them from our St. Louis region. So some come from Illinois, some come like Jennifer Hope, you'll talk to later. She's in very west of Missouri, western part of Missouri. So I think it's important that we bring that to everyone's memory.
Right, that we honor these women who are contributing to our communities in such a way. We're going to take a look at some photos. We've got a few minutes, and we're going to bring in one of the nominees that you just mentioned. We're going to take a look at some historical photos of the Women of Achievement. So this photo you said goes back to 1947.
Yes.
Where there were 1,000 people in attendance downtown St. Louis honoring the women that year. But this was before, so you really consider 1955 the start of the organization.
Yes, what happened is this photo is about the Group Action Council. They were organized in 1942, and this is a 1947 photo. It was down at the Jefferson Hotel, and they started to honor 10 women who volunteered through the work in their communities. And so what happened was the St. Louis Globe Democrat back in the day caught up with them, and they decided to partner together. And so starting in 1955, the St. Louis Globe Democrat took over it, and we had our first class. Yes, that's a class in 1955 photo right there. And so they started to recognize women in the community from that point on.
Yes, so this goes back to 55, and let's take a look at some of these other pictures. I love that you have these great archives.
Yeah.
So the luncheon's obviously been part of your history for a long, long time, maybe since the beginning.
We've had that luncheon at a variety of different locations. The Coruscant Room was one of the rooms that we always did it in.
At the Chase.
At the Chase. And now, we're at the Ritz-Carlton in St. Louis.
Yeah, and it's a public event, so people can still get tickets to the luncheon. It's really, really fun. I've been to it before because you guys show videos of the nominees and the work that they're doing. The nominees are seeing the videos for the very first time at that luncheon, and they're really, really awe-inspiring. I've been there, I've seen it myself, and it's so heartwarming. So it's been featured, as you said, in some of the society pages that we've had in St. Louis, and these are different awards and things that are given.
Yeah, you're seeing some of these photos are from our last annual meeting, where even though we've had 700 members, we have 300 of our women that are still with us, and about 80 of them attended this annual meeting, and to help us start to celebrate the kickoff of our 70th year.
That's amazing. So 300 of the 700 are still here in our community. So let's take a look at some photos of this year's nominees. You can tell us just a little brief bit about each of these 10 women.
That's Mindy Baker, and Mindy works in a volunteer area for what is Camp Hope, which is different than, this is in Farmington, and it's different from Jennifer Hope Ranch of Missouri. But this particular volunteerism was for our military veterans. So there is a camp there that they go to that is a resort-like, so that they can heal and just come back together from being overseas or having an event.
And who is this?
That is Melanie Barrier, and Melanie works with our foster children, and she does music therapy. So she works well with that. And Teresa Bradley, she does this economic model that with different unfranchised communities, disenfranchised communities, and she helps them to get dollars back into the community.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Buffy Dillon. Buffy her husband passed away at the age of 39 of colon cancer. So she started a foundation to honor him and to make people aware of colon cancer and help survivors of colon cancer and their families.
Okay.
This is Jody Finney, and Jody has been doing care and compassion, and Jody has worked with people with Alzheimer's. Her mother died of it, and she's felt that if we could work with families whose family member has Alzheimer's, it's a very helpful way to help everybody through this whole process with someone with Alzheimer's.
Great. And we've just got a few more seconds left to go through the next few.
Letty Preston, and she works with our refugees that come to St. Louis. And that's Jennifer Hope. You'll hear about her with...
she's going to be here in just a few minutes.
And Alice Ludmer, she works with the Jewish community adult daycare center. So she works with individuals who also have needs. And that's Gail Olson. And she's working with the city of College Hill community to help develop that. And Anna Warfield. Anna is amazing. She gets coats and shoes and socks for children.
Very good. Kathie, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And that luncheon's coming up. We've got information that we'll be sharing with our viewers about how they can get tickets to that event at the Ritz-Carlton this May. So thank you so much. We've got Jennifer Hope coming up next. She's one of this year's honorees. So we're going to spend a little bit more time with her and talking about what she's done with her work, her as a community volunteer. Thanks for joining us.
Did you know that you can watch STL TV on your smart TV? That's right. With the new STL TV Now app, you can watch STL TV at home without a cable subscription. And that includes our live broadcast channel as well as video on demand content. We have apps for Apple TV, Fire TV, and Roku. You probably have at least one of those at home, right? But this one is a Fire TV. Now listen, it is really easy to get started. Just find the App Store on your TV, then search for STL TV Now. Select it and click to install. And in just a few seconds, you are enjoying STL TV's great programming such as City Corner, Inside Sports, City Government, and public interest coverage. Or, my personal favorite, In the Kitchen.
Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Where's your emergency?
Everyone's on their way. What happened? Your friend's not breathing. She's dead? Yes, please get my mom and dad. Oh my God!
I felt accomplished after I got my diploma. Made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back to City Corner. I'm Sarah Bernard, and we've been talking about the Women of Achievement, which is a 70-year-old institution here in St. Louis. And we have one of this year's honorees with us today, Jennifer Hope. Welcome, Jennifer. So we were just talking with Kathie about the whole nomination process. So this was your year. So you were joining 699 other St. Louis women over all these decades who have been nominated for this really prestigious award. Only 10 women every single year selected from our entire metro area. So you're one of those 10 this year, 2025. So tell us a little bit about, we're going to talk about the organization, Hope Ranch of Missouri, and which is not a relation to Jennifer Hope, which is your last name. It just happens to be that Hope is all around you. Yep. A great coincidence. But how did you find out that you were nominated, and what did that feel like?
Well, I got a call from Kathie, and that was just exciting because it was actually it was one of those tougher days, and so to get that little ray of sunshine and just to hear that it was pretty incredible.
So you heard from Kathie, she's the executive director. So do you know who nominated you?
Yes, actually, it was another gal from our area in Franklin County, Billy Cramey. She is the director of Bethel Hills and was a honoree last year.
Oh, okay.
And we had, back when this was just a vision for both of us, we had coffee now and then talking about, okay, this is what we're going to do, and this is our plans, and just kind of helping one another, supporting one another as we took on these kind of big projects. And so she had mentioned she was going to possibly nominate me, but that's all I'd really kind of heard. But so then I found out from Kathie, and it was amazing.
And then to be nominated and then to be selected.
I know,
and we heard from Kathie, that's a really, really big process. So there were 100 women nominated this year, and it was down to the 10 at the end, and you're one of those. And you'll be honored at the luncheon coming up in May at the Ritz-Carlton. So tell us a little bit about your story and how you became involved with Hope Ranch of Missouri and what you all do there.
Okay. Well, my background is in education, so I was a teacher and then principal, and then retired early as assistant superintendent in Union, Missouri, in that school district. And the reason was because we were seeing so many kids that would come in as kindergartners just full of energy and just excitement and hope and just honoring us and whatever it would take, these little guys, and then due to circumstances out of their control, often they were involved with foster families. They were moving around, and then to have them later as high school students that just had no hope for a different future. They were just downtrodden, and it was like we can help these kids. We're a community of just all kinds of talents. Why can't we get together and do something to help our kids instead of having them shipped off away from everything they know?
Was this a pervasive problem? Was it a majority of these kids that you were watching from kindergarten to high school who were giving up on life, so to speak, or was it a smaller group?
It was just, it takes one to break your heart, and then you see it again, and after a while, it's like, so we have someone around who can do something, is where this kind of started, and through a lot of prayer and just like, what can I do? And then hearing that other professions in our area were seeing the same issues, law enforcement, counselors, the doctors, nurses, and so finding other professionals that had that same, there's an issue, and we collectively can get together and come up with a solution and start taking care of our own in a community-based environment.
So to go from that to Hope Ranch of Missouri as a destination where these young people live?
They live here, yes. We have 200 acres that was donated by a generous donor of ours, and so we spent about 8 years developing the programs that we were going to use, making sure we were going to have programs that were going to actually make a difference for our kids and help them realize they can create their own future, that past that happens to them or happened to them does not have to define everything for the rest of their life. And so we, from our counseling program to the housing and residential program and teaching them skills and social skills, because sometimes they've missed out or they're just angry and hurt because everything's been taken out of their control. And so helping them learn to advocate for themselves in a way people are going to hear them, the judge will hear them, their caseworkers. And then also with the counseling, helping that family, if the family is still intact enough that reunification is the court's plan, then we do the family counseling along with this individual counseling for the kiddos. And so we want to help that whole family heal.
Yeah. So how are these children and youth referred to you?
Right now, we're currently working with kids that are in the foster care system, so they're referred by caseworkers. We also work with some of our families that adopted kiddos that needed a home, but then they're experiencing some delayed mental health issues, trauma, things are coming up, and the families are kind of struggling. And so we've had several kids that have come to live with us, and so we help them kind of heal. And then that's where it's really important for the parents to get involved and the whole family to get involved and learn how to problem solve together and communicate again. And
so how long have you all been open?
we've been open for 2.5 years, since 2022. Right after COVID, that kind of put a little break on it for a little bit with all that.
And how long are the children there?
Our children, it just depends on their needs, and it's very individualized. So we've had kids who have been there for just a few months, and we've had some that have been there over a year. Also, that depends on if they have a home afterwards, or what the plan is. If the family's intact and we're trying to work on that reunification, then yes, usually around about 6 to 9 months. We've had some a little bit longer because right now we're looking for a forever family for them. And a lot of these are teens that we're working with right now, and that's where it's a little more difficult to find a forever family sometimes for some of your teens who've had a pattern in the past of behaviors that weren't, that were inappropriate.
And so it might be too early to tell, 2.5 years, but do you see a lot of rehabilitation going on?
Yeah. Matter of fact, we have one of our gals who graduated, or she completed the programs, and she is now in the nursing program, getting ready matter of fact, she's in her clinicals right now. So she's actually coming to our golf tournament. We have the 25th of this month, and going to speak to our group because her story is, she had been to other places, they're called residential, we're licensed as a residential, but we're family style, and we take care of our kiddos in a different kind of approach. We're building relationships. We keep the number of them very low, so that we are able to actually identify what their needs and tailor their programs to them. We have an on-campus therapeutic school, so with my background in education, of course, we're trying to fill in any educational gaps they may have, and the therapeutic part our counselors and therapists just work with them and their families just to help them heal and process through that stuff.
So you're fully a volunteer.
Yes.
And is the entire staff volunteer, or some people are there paid positions?
Oh, we have many paid positions. We have adults and we call them teaching parents that live with the kiddos in the homes, and so we use the teaching family model. So that is actually teaching social skills and different levels of whether it's to be assertive or some kids still need to know how to accept the answer no and ask permission. So we start low level and move it on up to wherever their needs are. So, and we have therapists that we hire. We have a lot of volunteers as well, and our board is very active. And we have other ones that work as volunteers, but primarily most of them are paid. Now we have a need for volunteers, but we also have a need for a volunteer coordinator. So if anyone's out there and has that expertise of kind of coordinating, we could use some help there too.
And you are in Franklin County,
We're in Franklin County,
about an hour outside of St. Louis. So are your volunteers typically coming from that area, or do you have people
typically, but we're open to having anyone who has that heart to help kids heal. And we could be in the school area. It could be just being a grandparent. We have a lot of CASA that come out, and the court-appointed special advocate volunteers, which I used to do, which that is just another awesome organization that works with the kids in foster care. So, but our kiddos, especially those who don't have a family to return to, they need all the love and support. And it could be mentor grandma or grandpa that comes out and just either helps them with reading or whatnot, or just taking a walk. I mean, sometimes the most powerful thing is just spending the time, someone to listen to them and just not trying to solve everything for them, just be that ear.
So is all on your website how people can find out about volunteer opportunities?
Yes. Or reach out to us. On the website has our phone numbers and email and contact information. So yeah, we are looking for volunteers and anyone who wants to support us as we help our kids heal.
Yeah, so what are some of the future plans for Hope Ranch of Missouri?
Well, we have 2 homes open currently in our alternative therapeutic school. So our next goal is to build another set of homes for our transitional kids, the kids who don't have a place to go to, who have completed the program, and now they want to finish school and get ready to go that next level, whether it's go to a college or a trade school. They just still need a little bit of a safety net, and so we need to build our next set of homes for their group of girls. Right now it's just the girls that are almost independent. They're so close. So they just need a little help.
18 years old?
We have them until they're 19, but if we can get the other house home, we would probably extend that to about 20, just to give them that, just a place to stay that's safe and help them, bridge over to that next level.
Yeah, and we've been looking at some of the pictures of the homes, the facilities. So are there currently 2 buildings, 2 homes?
There's 2 homes now, so we can serve up to 12 kids right now. We are working toward the capital project for the next one. We have some NAP tax credits that are available for people who want to volunteer to help raise the money for that next home. And so there's a lot of great opportunities. That's a typical, that's actually 2 homes together with, they're separate, but there's a connecting hallway in the back. It's very home style, very family style. And so that's a typical kind of evening. It's been great. Our kids are healing and they're realizing that they have potential, and it's just to be part of that journey for them is very rewarding.
It's amazing.
And we teach the volunteering ourselves. That's one of our pillars is volunteering, because for them to be able to give back and quit focusing on their own problems is just very.
So the kids are taught to be volunteers. I love that, and it fits so well with the Women of Achievement. You're making that next generation of achievers here in St. Louis for volunteering. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us today. Congratulations to you.
Thank
Obviously,
you.
well deserved.
Great honor.
Nomination and an honor to be a part of this next class of the Women of Achievement of St. Louis. It's such a great organization. Hope Ranch of Missouri. You can find out more about them and volunteer. Right here, we've got their website listed, and we really appreciate you joining us today for City Corner. Here's also the Women of Achievement, the luncheon, where you can learn more about Jennifer. You're going to see a video all about you that'll be featured at that luncheon. So thank you so much for joining us for City Corner today, and thank you to the women who have joined us, Kathie and Jennifer from the Women of Achievement organization. We appreciate you and we appreciate all of our viewers.